it is, they can catch up on YouTube. So we'll welcome them as they arrive. Thank all of y'all for being here. This is the Tax and Study Formulating Committee meeting number 2. Thank y'all for being here. We do have other committee members that are coming. I know Councilmember Quante Toombs is not going to be able to be here today, but I expect at least 3 others, so they'll get there as they arrive. I want to start by reviewing our goal, which I'm going to do every meeting just because I think it's good to keep that in front of us. This Study and Formulating Committee shall endeavor to study how the Metro government utilizes and potentially could use pilots to incentivize use of property in a way that contributes to the public good and to formulate recommendations for its implementation in a more transparent, equitable, effective, understandable, and fiscally responsible manner. Okay. Welcome, Fiona. And to make recommendations to the Metro Council on a potential cap on overall pilot allocations or other categories of pilot tax abatement allocations, and so recommend a method for setting up a cap. So that's our goal, to look at what's out there, how well it's working, and determine what types of things we think are worth setting aside tax money for, and if we should set a cap and what that method is going to be. So thank y'all all for being here. And the work plan is in general to spend, welcome April, a couple of meetings getting oriented to what is out there. Today's is just the suggestion of Charles Robert Bone, which we appreciate, just sort of tax abatement 101. So we're going to learn about the different tools that are frequently used, and then we will delve deeper in the next couple of meetings to some quantitative comparisons, perhaps, of those, which ones provide us the most bang for the buck, and look at what some other cities are doing, just to see if we're missing opportunities, and then I think to begin to brainstorm. So I welcome input on who great resources for all those types of meetings would be. I've got a lot of names have been given to me, but I would welcome more input on who needs to be at upcoming meetings. So we've got a great lineup for today, and I appreciate them all coming very much. Just real quickly, we'll run through, and just for the vast viewing audience, let all the members introduce themselves so people will know who we've got. So Charles Robert, if you'll start.
Charles Robert Bone, an attorney with Spencer Fane, Bone McAllister.
Fiona Halter, I'm a developer with CA South.
Berkeley Island Metro Council member and Chief Gatherer.
Meg Nelson, Nelson Community Partners for Affordable Housing Developers.
Angel Sims, Suburban and Urban Real Estate Services.
Great, thank you. And hopefully we'll have one more shortly, so great. With that, I just want to go back and confirm our regular meeting schedule. I think we decided that the time that worked almost the best for everybody was the first Wednesday of the month at 5:30. Not necessarily perfect, but it was the better choices of the ones we came up with. So you all should have gotten very definite invitations for those days. We've also kind of tentatively set aside the third Wednesday of every month if we get to the point where we think we need to have twice monthly meetings. Our goal is to know what we're talking about by July and have a good report written up by then. I will say the third Wednesday in March is possibly spring break for a whole lot of people, so I don't know that we want to jump to twice monthly meetings until April, unless other people have strong thoughts about that. Let me hear them. Okay, we'll circle back around to that at the end, but for now, if you will keep the third Wednesday loosely open, or let me know if it's getting clogged up. We'll try to be efficient and not need those, but I just wanted to go ahead and get them on your calendar and to get this room reserved if we discover there's that much information. So that's our regular meeting schedule. Next on the agenda, I'm sorry I don't have this posted on a nifty screen. I have no idea how to use that thing, but we'll work towards that. But hopefully you got that by email. Is official election of the chair. I just kind of inserted myself in here because I passed the legislation making this happen, and I want to make sure that it happens, and it is, which I'm excited about. But I think we do need to officially put someone in charge, and I'm happy to take nominations and discussion, and then we'll vote. So.
Any reason for you not to be the chair?
I think you're doing a great job.
If elected, I will serve. So I'll take that as a nomination and a second.
Second.
Any other nominations from the floor? Hearing none. Do I need to step out of the room while we vote? No. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, I'm good.
Afraid if we let you step out of the room, you might not come back.
Okay, great. Heck no, we're doing great stuff here, so thank y'all. I'll do it. So there we go. And I will just, if needed, ever need a vice chair, I'll just delegate someone. Great, so now we are on to Tax Abatement 101, and I've got some great area experts in here. And in theory, if each of y'all can take 5 or 10 or 15 minutes, however long it takes to help us benefit from your knowledge. We are just eager to learn about what the city's already doing and how effective that is at this point. So we've got 4 different kinds of things we're looking at: the MDHA TIF and pilot, the mixed income pilot, which is new, and participation agreements, which are kind of a funny animal that Tom's going to tell us about, and then the metro and utility pilots that the trustee is just going to tell us how that sort of fits in with her collecting of money. So, Joe, and just by way of introduction, we are following in the footsteps of a very thoughtful study that Charles Robert was on the committee of that looked at specifically just this TIF tax abatement. So it's a big one, and it's one we need to understand well. There is a study that's on our resource site that you can read through and find out what that group came up with. But just to get us up to speed, Joe, if you'll tell us.
Thank you. For those who don't know me, Joe Kane, the Director of Urban Development with MDHA. Tax increment finance falls underneath MDHA. We have authority to do, by state statute, to do tax increment financing inside redevelopment districts and in transit-oriented districts that have not yet come into play yet in Nashville, but are probably going to be the replacement for the traditional redevelopment districts. The redevelopment districts are created with a lot of public input into what should be the goals of an area. The traditional ones had to have blight, had to have a blight determination where a percentage of the properties, generally between 25 to 40% of the properties, are substandard or blighted or not developed as they should be appropriately. Our redevelopment districts are generally held within the urban core with those. So those areas that we're not developing, people like to point to Arts Center and say, why do you have a redevelopment district in the Gulch? Look at the Gulch and look at everything that is done to it. You back up 15 years, the only time you drove through the Gulch is when you're coming from South Nashville to Charlotte. You never went to the Gulch. It was a drive-through. And so that's what some redevelopment districts are capable of being able to do if you have the right planning that takes place with that. And so we've been very pleased to be able to do that. I want to talk about a little bit about what the basis of tax increment financing is. And if you sit and think about it for half a minute, it's like, it's incremental property tax. Would not be there otherwise. So it's as you would do, and we can keep with the Gulch, you had a vacant piece of property just laying around over there that's producing absolutely no income. In fact, one of the pieces of property that they had actually belonged to the CSX Railway. So it was producing zero income coming in because of part of that coming through. And then the private developer took that over, came in with that, and the Icon and the Gulch and the Velocity got built over into that area over in there and created a multi-million-dollar project that over time has generated millions of dollars in property taxes. The recent study that you alluded to that was going on, there were some changes that took place with property taxes and how the base taxes are calculated and what's done with those taxes and how MDHA has been utilizing those and how the city has been, what portion of the property taxes the city get, what portion of it is available to go towards debt service. Back when we had our initial budget crisis about 4 years ago, we were looking at ways to kind of recreate this, and we actually went in and refinanced a whole lot of our tax increment financing loans and established them with a fixed debt service. Previously, we had pledged all of the increment that the property generated, and by so if you had a property that you estimated was going to pay off in 15 years, and you were throwing all the taxes out, it ended up paying off in 8, 9, 10, or 12 years, depending on what the cycle was going through real estate and the reappraisals and the tax rates and associated with it. But now they have a flat rate, and so now we have a flat dollar amount that's going for debt service, and the balance is coming back in toward the city to be able to take care of that. That bill actually floated through Metro Council to get approval for the refinancing of it at the time that we did it. But that tax increment financing has been, I think, absolutely vital into specific areas of what we've been doing. A lot of it is utilized, almost all of it is utilized with the goals of the city. And we're implementing what the city wants to get done. The biggest one, there have been two huge lifts that tax increment financing managed to get through with the city. One of them, going back, is residential. There is zero residential in downtown Nashville. You go back and you look now, if you see all the the apartments and condos and everything down, they're all new, because there weren't any. There were some apartments up in North Nashville on the river. Down in there, you had Mr. Turner's house on 2nd Avenue. That was down there, and then there were some riverfront apartments also down on 2nd Avenue. But generally, there was nobody living downtown. And the Downtown Partnership has all the statistics of how many people live downtown and what they were doing and who was there. But it made a big push, and that took place under Mayor Purcell's initiative to bring residential into downtown. And we started putting lots of future property tax dollars through tax increment finance into these projects to get them up, because nobody knew if anybody was actually going to live downtown, because nobody did. And so was there a market for it? And so we primed, I would like to say, tax increment finance primed the pump. And then all of a sudden it proved that, there is a market for residential. It took a while to prove the market, because it takes a while to build a 20-story building. And then for the people to move in, and then for the people to move back out, or to renew their leases and see what's happening with that. And obviously we now have a 24-hour downtown, and so it's been a great benefit. The other one that we did most recently was a pure support of the convention center coming into town. And again, people are going, what do you mean we needed hotels coming into Nashville? They're absolutely everywhere. There weren't hotels coming into downtown. There was no such thing as full-service hotels in Nashville. And so working with the administration, working with the Convention Center Authority, we entered into some agreements mutually, and were able to bring the Omni Hotel in here, which was absolutely essential to the success of the convention center, to be able to have a convention center hotel with room blocks that can accommodate large-scale conventions and everything. And so we helped bring some of those on board, working hand in hand with the Convention Center Authority. We had multi-party agreements, because they did require a room block, that these people were coming in with that. And so we ended up with 3 hotels for the convention center: the Omni Hotel, the Westin, and the Joseph Hotel were the 3 with the room block agreements that we worked through. And then
did we have tips for the other 2, or just for the Omni?
No, the other 2 as well, with the room breaks.
But significantly less.
Yes, because as they started coming online, and other people started coming, but we still needed the full-service hotels, and that's because after the Omni came in, then the 3-star hotels started coming along. Well, that's great, but you really, to land those larger conventions, you need the 4- and 5-star hotels coming into town. So that's where tax increment financing has helped really play a significant role in the redevelopment of the core downtown. We have moved out a little bit into Dickerson Road, Skyline Redevelopment District. 5 Points was another redevelopment district that's been completed to help kind of spur those areas along, and it's been very beneficial. And that's, I don't know what kind of questions you have on it, but that's just, you got me down for 101, so I'm just trying to.
We can do 102. Yeah, so If we can do questions now while we're thinking about yours, I'd rather do that than wait till the end. I'll start with one. I know often you would, for a while, you would hear neighbors be very frustrated and say, why in the world are we giving money to hotels and therefore that money's not going to metro schools? And there's a point in our budget process when there's a payment by the schools for something. Can you explain that?
No. It's an internal accounting type of processes that kind of works with the finance department and how they're setting up their budgets and how it works and what goes into the urban services district and how the taxes are all allotted out. It's beyond me to be able to kind of say how all that works and as to why it actually showed up as a line item.
So is it more of a bookkeeping?
It showed up as that being a transfer in, but again, these are all incremental taxes that otherwise would not have even been getting generated into it. And so while it did, the effect was the way it was being booked is MDHA was taking this amount of money, and we had already allocated these sums out based on the county. We had allocated all these sums out. MDHA takes this amount, and so wait a second, that was a percentage of the school's budget. That was a percentage of these other ones, and so we need to move that back over because MDHA should be getting it. And it was a kind of a complicated way, an eye-opening way for people to say what is going on with it, because honestly, a couple years before that, we never even knew we were in that line item number because it wasn't a large amount of money, and it kind of passed on through. Just as anybody, when money starts getting tight, everybody starts looking at every single line item on there and figuring out how it comes on through. Because our process is we confirm that the property taxes are paid. We submit the dollar increment is from what the base year is to what the current is, and that money gets funneled back into us. And so that's when we started laying off of certain taxes we are no longer collecting to be able to get around that, and Metro can continue to get their portion that they need to operate.
Okay. So I think what you're saying is it's sort of like we get $1 and we give it to everybody, but maybe we take 15 cents back, but we wouldn't have gotten that $1 to start with. So they're 85 cents they're actually getting.
I think that's good.
I think that's what you are
Yeah.
saying. Okay. Other questions?
In theory, on that, the trustee could just transfer the portion of the taxes that are pledged to the TIF debt are. There's really not. They're very pledged to that TIF debt, so they must be paid for those TIF loans. So the trustee could theoretically transfer that money to MDHA. Obviously, we're not doing it that way. It goes to Metro. It's just their general fund dollars. They get just tossed in the bucket of general fund dollars, which are allocated already to all the various different departments. And since we need them, the departments didn't have to pay us back for those, even though they were already pledged to begin with. We just hadn't been accounting for it on the front end. So yeah, it's just like it
actually comes from every.
This is my assistant director. I make him crunch all the numbers for us. So
Thank you, Joe. And I'm not sure I gave your official title at MDHA. So
no, I gave it. It was that's Matt Loftus is my assistant director.
Awesome, appreciate it. Other questions, Matt?
Yeah, there's some places, TIF districts, where we're basically probably, my understanding is we're at the end of the life cycle of the redevelopment district, so there's no real TIF activity, even if there was maybe capacity left over. There are other districts that all the capacity is, I think, used up, and there's some districts where there's still some time horizon left and some potential dollars available. So first of all, is that kind of...
Yes.
Is that those places where there is TIF capacity left and a time horizon? So my question is, why aren't they being used? Does that make sense, in terms of like people want to build in Nashville? Any incentive, so talk me. I've got some, I think, guesses about why that's the case, but I'd love to hear more about it as we're thinking about deploying the tools that are already out there in the best possible way. And this is one of those.
I'll go back and answer your beginning question. taxes. As a redevelopment district typically has a life of 30 years. So the closer you get towards that maturity of the district, the less likely there's going to be enough time period for the taxes to be coming in to retire the debt, especially if you got a building that's going to take 2 years to build, it's going to take another year to come online, and it's going to be the fourth year before it generates any true increment. And so you start kind of waning out of being able to do loans, to your point. There are some that have completely expired. They remain in place for the land use restrictions. The redevelopment plans typically have, and have historically always had, much more restrictive land use on them than what base zoning did. Downtown code has changed that a bit because downtown code came in and being rather specific. But our areas that are further out are restrictions, and we always utilize the more restrictive applies on the zoning where we overlap. And so that works with that. To your specific question of why are those areas that still have TIF remaining, why are we not doing tax increment financing loans? Well, there's a couple of them. One of them is they kind of sort of got put on a halt while we were redoing this other stuff, and there's some legislation we need to bring back in to get to re-energize. But what we have seen is obviously we want a benefit to come back to the city, and so we had utilized it for affordable housing when we were downtown, because nobody's going to build housing downtown because it was still a risk. It was an unknown factor. But today it gets to the point where rents are so high, I can afford to build it and get my money back. So why do I want to have a restriction that you're going to put on that piece of property, and I have to keep up with it forever and everything else when the numbers work for me? And so it does put a little bit of a barrier back on the developer when the market's good, because he'll just build. So unfortunately, we're not getting affordable housing built because they're just building regular housing. And so how do so will they come in and will they try and do affordable housing? And I think that's what your project's here a little bit is, there are some incentives that, that may possibly work to get people to do that, or some developers to do that.
Maybe it's a testament to how successful these redevelopment districts are that people would prefer not to give back any future earnings in order and just build without the taxes.
And that works on the type of developer. Is that developer in it for the long haul who's going to be here, or is their intention to get the thing occupied and turn around and sell the building, when it's cash flowing out? And so there's a lot of issues that are associated with that.
Other questions?
Can I ask one? So, I think if you surveyed people today, they would say maybe not impossible, but highly unlikely that we would ever do another TIF deal for a hotel for the time being. Office building, downtown, just market rate housing, retail. Those things have kind of proven where it's no longer needed. I think most people would say some component of infrastructure, some component of affordable housing. My understanding is the infrastructure sets up really nicely with the TIF component, but in order to truly incentivize affordable housing, there are some legal impediments to that we can't just straight up incentivize affordable housing and say that's the only thing we're going to do. Could you speak to that just briefly, to what those limitations are?
The one thing that's if you put on your glasses and go backwards in time, there's always going to be, why did you do that one? But when we are incentivizing those, we're generally trying to get the pump prime, and so development's going into this area, and so then you ease back off of it. And so yes, no, there's not a need for another hotel. There's not another need for office building. They're filling up, and again, it goes back to the rates per square foot are astronomical to be able to help satisfy those. So you're not doing that. When you start talking about the affordable housing and how affordable housing is, there's only so many dollars in here that are property taxes, and trying to kind of make that work and to play in with those, you're going to get a bit into the numbers game. An apartment only generates maybe $2,000 in property taxes. Well, if I take $2,000, how much money can I borrow with the $2,000 payment? Not a lot. And so, but yet I'm going to require you to reduce the rent, probably more than $2,000 on that unit, to be able to. So there's this give and take, and that's why we're not having a lot of developers jump up and down and say, I want to do this project. Infrastructure, it works great. Now, I was talking to you before we sat down about in the Gulch where we did some infrastructure. We did infrastructure on one project, and all of a sudden it freed up 6 blocks all the way around. It got completely developed with high-rise on it. They got no increment whatsoever, no benefit or anything. All the benefit goes back to the city because, one, we did that one investment that would not have otherwise taken place. NES wouldn't have done it. It was for, water services wouldn't have gotten out because it just wasn't that high of a priority on that list, or they didn't have enough funding to be able to get that done. And so it helped pull that in and again prime that pump for that whole area. Those multiple blocks.
Anything else on TIF? April, and then finance director.
Supposed to be the admin, but I have a question.
Okay, you're next. You're second.
You mentioned that some redevelopment districts had come to the end of their life cycle. Could you tell me example for example?
But most recently was the 5 Points redevelopment district in East Nashville. It ended in 2020. I think it ended in 2020. We have the East Bank that includes the stadium going out Main Street. It ends in 2025. So those are the two that are the closest to being they're coming to their closure.
So then what happens?
Our restrictions fall off.
Okay.
And it's mostly, like I said, it's mostly the land use restrictions. And so when 5 Points was one that we were talking about it. Do we want to keep it in place? Don't want to keep it in place and everything else? And we were working closely with the council member that wanted to put some specific zoning in place to keep some of these restrictions that the plan had in place, but base zoning didn't keep out. And so, we were able to negotiate together and work on that and see how long it's going to take. And he worked to put in some of those restrictions that otherwise would have fallen off.
Talk a little bit about how MDHA is. Oh, so sorry.
Go ahead.
MDHA is approaching. Just to kind of follow up on the question. Some of these are falling out. You talked about TIDs in different areas. How, as an organization, are you approaching next steps? And maybe some of this committee is that, but as an organization that sees development and manages that for Metro Nashville, opine a little.
We're working together with planning and NDOT and I was going to say MTA. I guess it still is MTA, though technically they didn't change. And to try and address where these areas ought to be for the future, because one tool is not going to fix it. So it's going to need the benefit of probably some rezoning to go in to allow some higher density. It's going to need the investment from MTA to put in the stops and to make it a high traffic route, and planning department helping us figure out where all that goes in there, and then what should be the affordability that we want to do when we do bring these along. And so we're in the middle of a study process right now, working on that and figure out what should be the benefits when we establish a TOD. What are the check marks that these places need to have that would do just like you were saying? How do you decide where to go next? That's exactly what we're trying to do, is come up with a formula, say, we're going to go to a place that has boom, 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 and that is lacking this, and this.
So maybe planning is a group that would be good for us to hear from as well.
Yes.
Okay. Other planning. Yeah, I think Director Flannery. Thank you for waiting.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I had a question. I'm supposed to serve you, but
We'll get to that.
I know enough to be
I
dangerous.
want you to be obligated.
So, I don't know if this is a question for Mr. Kane or one of the lawyers in the room. I know that MDHA does most of the TIFs, but there's a couple stragglers that live in IDB, and why? Like, how does it decide who goes where, and is it the same process both administratively as well as just like, is it still a district? Is the district still have an expiration date to it? And again, I'm not trying to put it on you.
No.
I see a whole bunch of lawyers that probably can tell it.
I can answer mine.
Okay.
I have a circle, and I can only work inside that circle. And it's the redevelopment district, and it's where those lines are, and that's the only places that I can work. And so if you start coming outside of those areas, you would either create a new plan that would include that area, but you'd have to then weigh, this is, it's not, you need to do a plan, so you can't really do a one-off. And so to do a one-off, and I've been the IDB and Bellevue Center was the one that has been looked at, that is in effect, that is now processing and generating and making and paying taxes. It was a one-off that went through the IDB and came back to Metro Council for approval. Our redevelopment districts are set up on the front end with the cap. You're talking about, do we create caps? And ours was established on the front end with the cap. And then the IDBs, those are all one-offs from my, now I'm not an expert on those. I know how we work inside our envelope.
So it's geography, not project type.
Correct.
Got it. Thank you.
And just to follow up on that, is the money that from the TIF and that goes to the IDB or MDHA, do they have the same parameters on what they can be used for? Or is it all just infrastructure in terms of what you can do with the TIF?
No, I think you're going to, and I think there's a little bit of play between the difference with it because we're under one section of state law that says what these eligible uses are, and the IDB falls under their own section, and I do not know what the differences are.
But can you speak specifically? Is it infrastructure only, or what would the money from MDHA?
It can go into infrastructure. It can go into land cost. It can go into parking, and those are generally the largest ones that take place on projects. It generally is no more than 10% of the project cost, and land is generally more than 10% of the project cost. So we can generally put it into the project. This is what's nice about tax increment financing. You can generally put it into the project on the front end. So it almost serves as equity for the developer because it can go in for the acquisition of the property.
You said three things: infrastructure, land cost, or
Parking.
Parking?
Yeah.
And like environmental.
Yeah. The environment, that's another big one. Generally, we only do tax increment financing on projects that we want, and generally what we're trying to do is that the project would not be developed otherwise. And so when it comes in more as a form of equity, which would be going into the land, generally where it goes into more, because if it's going into parking, I'm not going to pay them for the parking until they've actually built that parking space. And so it lags behind from that way. But those are some things that do it. In the new TODs that are out there, the legislation specifically allows it to go into sticks and bricks for the construction of affordable housing.
Great. Other questions? Great. This was good. Hang on, I gotta. Housing.
I do have one other question.
Okay.
So has the Jefferson Street area, that redevelopment district, has it expired, or what's going on in that?
No, it's still in place. It's interesting. We have done a couple of projects on Jefferson Street. Some of that overlaps with Phillips Jackson. So it's Phillips Jackson on this side of the interstate, and then it's just Jefferson Street going out. It's just a corridor strip going out in there. And so it's still there and it's still available. We did a residential project. Many of you may know DJ Wooten, who's active in the field and working in there. We did one project with him on it, and we're keyed up to do a second project with it. And he's like, no. He's like, I can make it where his numbers were working on it and being able to do it without it, because he had gotten one in sitting there on Jefferson Street and found out that people want to live on Jefferson Street. And so again, we pulled off we pulled off the gas, and he was able to get that going. So, and that's the whole idea about it, is to prime the pump.
Absolutely. Awesome. Okay, I think, I'm sure we can always communicate with Joe if we have more questions. So we'll email you if more things come up. But stick around, because, so now let's move on to Angie Hubbard, who is with planning, specifically in the housing division. And we're so excited. You've been there for a year now, and great things have happened. And at the moment, I want you to start telling us about the mixed income pilot that was created not that long ago, but is off and running, we hope.
Yes, thank you. And I've got some things I'll just circulate. I thought it would help with just a little summary. But you're going to hear about two pilots for affordable housing. Joe's going to talk about one, and this is a completely different one. So I'm going to give you a little context. In 2021, we had an affordable housing task force report that said that in 10 years, we need 52,000 plus units, around 44,000 plus rental units. That's about, divide that by 10, that's, 5,200 units we need to create, both rental and homeownership a year. We're creating about 1,300 with our current resources at that time. And just like building a house, you don't use a single tool. The same thing with addressing our housing affordability challenges. And actually, I'm going to pass this around. So when I talk affordability, you kind of understand what we're facing as a city with regard to our income levels.
That's what was up on the screen, right? That we couldn't see.
So we have a number of tools that we have now through the Housing Trust Fund, and that goes really, that is only to nonprofits, grants to nonprofits to do new construction, rehab, homeownership and rental. Joe's going to talk about his pilot, which is limited to low-income housing tax credits. But here's what was happening is all throughout our city, we keep seeing cranes everywhere and construction of market rate housing, and that's going to happen regardless. So what could we do to make some of those units that are going to happen anyway, make them affordable? And we've done some research, and this payment in lieu of tax program, mixed income pilot, was what we started talking to the development community and thought, let's do this program so that we can make those units affordable. We have 2% affordability downtown. People at 80% of the area median income or below. So you can see that chart. So we structured this program, and I'll give a little background. Before I came to the housing, in between MDHA and planning, I spent 3 years at the Regional Economic Development District advising IDBs and health and ed boards on TIFs and pilots as one of my functions, and borrowed an economic development pilot from another jurisdiction that's a tiered program and modified it for housing. And thankfully, Council Lady Allen and Hannah Davis in our office had already started the conversations, but we have let me say this, we have no regulatory authority in the city or state to require housing affordability. So we have to have carrots, big carrots, medium-sized carrots, small carrots, any size. And so this tiered program gives us different options for the development community. We wanted to make it easy for them to understand, get that return for us. So that has led to this pilot program we created. We are very diligent on the use of Metro resources, so this will not allow us to use any other Metro resource. Any Barnes funding, any other resource that we may create, because we want Metro resources to go very far, very wide, and not very deep into a project so that we can get more bang for our bucks. So we did, this pilot was passed in May. And we are capped at $3 million. We can only do $3 million worth of abatements through the health Health and Ed Board. That's who approves these every year for new projects. So our first year that we're just now getting going, the Health and Ed Board approved 5 projects, and we're getting 466 units affordable to households at 75% of the area median income or below. And we actually scaled down from 80% to get better aligned with deeper affordability that people in our city are experiencing housing challenges. We wanted to reach deeper than just the 80% AMI. One of those projects is actually downtown, and we're getting 100 units downtown at that income level, which is, we're just thrilled. So for our very first year, we outperformed. We thought maybe 300 units we might getting 466. We're still ramping up that implementation, working with some of our good colleagues on the legal documents to get these closed, but we have oversight from Metro Council. We have to report to them on the performance, and I've listed in that summary, or it's in the program sheet, what we have to report on every year. We can't make any changes to the program without coming back to council by resolution. So there is the oversight there, but it is, if this were a direct subsidy, and this probably isn't a great apples to apples comparison, but I'm going to make it one. If it were a direct subsidy, we're putting in a little over $6,000 per unit. Annually, $96,000 plus over the 15-year pilot term. That's a pretty good return, and it outperforms even what we're putting in with the Barnes Fund. So that's in a nutshell this first year program of our mixed income. And the other reason we're doing mixed income is to have that economic integration in buildings, in communities. That is a known best practice. And we're really targeting areas like downtown and our corridors where we really need affordability, and then we have that access to transit and other services.
Questions?
You used the full $3 million, and that's 466.
We're 88,000 below the cap, but we don't have a project where we can there. So yeah, so that 466 is actually not quite at $3 million.
So is that $3 million annually, or is it just
Annually, that's the cap. We can't abate any more than that for new projects each year.
So does that mean if we have another $3 million in projects come through next year, they can be approved, and the total abatement cost for those 1,000 units will be $6 million?
Yes.
So that's a pretty, pretty efficient.
That's correct.
And Angie, is there a table that shows, I mean, if I remember this correctly, for the projects that do the maximum amount of affordability, the abatement is like close to 80% if it's downtown?
Correct. So you've got a general program description that has the various levels. And so we're not abating 100% of the taxes, and you will see the level 1 is the biggest carrot where you get the most abatement, but we're asking the most of the developers. And at no point will an abatement payment be less than the taxes that are currently on the property now.
Right. So it's on the incremental.
Correct.
Which most of these are.
And we do step down. It's a 15-year affordability period. The payment steps down, meaning that they pay more in years 11 through 15 unless they opt in to renew.
And there's one renewal possibility. Maybe 30 years of affordability.
Yes.
Which is pretty great. Questions, thoughts, answers?
That's great.
So Joe could circle back around to the other kind of pilot, which has been around for a little longer, a few more years. If you'll talk about what MDHA is doing with your pilot.
Our pilots are restricted to low-income housing tax credits. You must have received a low-income housing tax credit in order to receive the pilot that we offer. Our pilots are capped at $2.5 million annually that we can do. The pilot is limited for a 10-year period. Going back to your math, we could do $2.5 million a year for 10 years. So it could ultimately end up at $25 million. Today, I got a little information I'd be glad to share with you on this. Some of this, I reference our website where there's a report. One of these is on tax increment financing. The second page is on or I guess the third page is on the pilot. That shows, that summarizes, the third page summarizes the existing pilots. This is our annual report we submit to Metro and Council. It's on our website. It's on the front page as to where it is. We have our prior years there as well, cited for you. We have done, I have to find my glasses on my nose, but see, you know,
We're all with you.
getting old is not all it's cracked up to be. And I can't find my notes where I totaled it now. So, but we totaled that up, and the total amount we're right around $5 million, I believe, for this for the 4 years that we have that done. The average payment, with the real abatement over on the right-hand side is what, if you took what the tax assessor has on the parcel as a whole, compared to what we have, what their annual pilot payment is. And so the total abatement is $5.2 million, roughly about $1,400 annually for each unit. Each unit's paying about $2 on average on these numbers, and I'm sorry, don't have a spread. We posted and pasted this as a PDF. About $290 a year. The savings, otherwise it'd be, they're paying $290 a year per unit. Otherwise, they would have to pay $1,735 a year. So, I mean, they're saving essentially $120 a month with this program in there. It's strange how this originated. The tax assessors appraise apartments as they appraise apartments, and they really can't tell which one has a low-income housing tax credit and which one doesn't if there's two of them sitting next to each other. And so they kind of merge those together for the appraisal purposes. And what happened many years ago, the people with the low-income housing tax credits would go in and appeal their taxes and saying, hey, I can't get, because my property is restricted, my rents are restricted, I can only get X number of dollars for rent, whereas that one next door is getting twice that. And so, he should be getting taxed that much, but I can't. And so the tax assessor, and it took me a while to figure this out. My background is originally in real estate appraising. And so all of a sudden it started coming to me is what happened is those tax credits that go into constructing the property, those tax credits go to the property. And so it's considered from the accounting purposes of the tax assessor, it's accounted as essentially additional income that goes into the property. And it's a huge number, these things, when you're getting a 9% tax credit. It's a huge dollar amount. And so the tax assessors say, well, that's other income that comes in. And you're the one who brought it to me and opened up your book. So now I'm going to tell you how much it's going to cost because you opened up my books. It's a legitimate appraisal practice, and THCA is trying to work with the state and trying to make some changes.
Tennessee Housing Development Authority.
So you don't yell. It's a state thing, and it's not anything that Nashville can wave their wand and pass a bill to do that. And so the way we do that is we actually take title to the real estate on that. It goes to council. Council approves what the total pilot amount will be, and we puts it in there, and they have that payment. The way the tax assessor looks at it is those credits have no more value coming into the property after year 10. That is why we have a 10-year cap, because there is no more value. So on year 11, the developer could go to the tax assessor and appeal the taxes had it been there, and they say, well, what's the value of the credits? And say, there is no value to the credits. We've already gotten the value. The value's already gone in, it's out. And now all I have is this income restriction that says I can't charge more money than that. And at that point in time, the tax assessor says, you're absolutely right. This, therefore, should be your property taxes because the income is now truly at the level that the rents are paying. And so that's where that rub came from. And that's been kind of the, depending on who hears it and who says it, you don't really understand how that happens. But that's really what it is. And that's why we're sitting at 10 years with that.
That makes sense.
Is there any? So I have a permanent supportive housing project in Knoxville that's just about completed, and we have a tax credit deal going through their public housing authority. So similar mechanism. It has a pilot for 30 years and it has zero taxes on it. Is there any possibility, not for any tax credit deal, but for the right one where MDHA could have a little bit more flexibility? We have a dearth of permanent supportive housing for people experiencing chronic homelessness here. Projects like that serve a really high need, hard to serve populations. Is there possibility for any flexibility in terms of the LIHTC pilot?
The LIHTC, well, I assume they have a LIHTC
Yes.
on there. That is restricted for 30 years, which is where they're coming from.
Yeah.
I think there is, but that's going to be over and above subsidy that we did not estimate in there. That there is some actual, the question is where is that income come in? We're looking at the 10-year pro forma, and we're looking at how much income is coming into that project, and there's enough income coming into that project every year. You starting on year one, there's enough income coming in to pay some property taxes, and it increases every year. So when we're out here at year 10, we're seeing that, or year 11, this thing can sufficiently pay its own property taxes. And so that's where we'd have to go again. You're getting into a little bit of we may want to give an additional subsidy because they are a special need, or they're serving something for the community that we want to do. And I think we haven't looked at one of those. I don't see why it could not fold into. The big question is going to be, will it fold into that $2.5 million? And right now, we are fixed at 10. We cannot go over 10, so we would have to change rules to go over 10.
Would that require council action? Okay. And I think part of our group is to look at what happens in other places where we are deploying our tax dollars in the best possible way. And if there's things that we'd love to see happen more so in Nashville, and there's other places that are using,
Yeah. I mean, to that point, we are also getting a lot of those needs under our current program are being hit too, with the way it's set up. So that's, you have to go back and look and say, all right, how much gas do we have to put on the pedal, and are we getting that where we need it to come through?
Good question. Okay. Yes, go ahead.
Really quickly, sorry, just to clarify, are you capped at $2.5 million per year on that?
And that's by the state, by the metro. Right.
That metro.
And then you said you took title?
We own it. So
Own it for 10 years and then it transfers back?
by law,
Own it fictionally.
by law,
paper with a
by law, you have to own it. Otherwise, it's taxable properties. We're a governmental entity. By law, once we own it, there's no property taxes on it.
So state law says there are very limited categories of properties that don't have to pay taxes. And so we, as a metropolitan government, we can't just say, we think you're a good cause, you don't have to pay taxes. It can only work through...
Or reduce taxes, you can't.
Or reduce tax. We can't even reduce taxes. So MDHA, Industrial Development Board, and Health and Ed Board, and then certain nonprofits are a different category. But that's part of where the whole tax abatement complication comes from, is what state law sets us up to. And I will try to go back and find all that legislation and put it on the resource page, because it's interesting too, because there are different restrictions for each one. It's very complicated. That is really helpful. Those are probably the two biggest, most complicated, but there are two other ones that I would like for us to hear about real quickly before we go. So, Tom Cross, if you'll tell us a little bit about participation agreements, which are not necessarily tax abatements, but they're just sort of ways that Metro foregoes future taxes to create some infrastructure that makes something happen that might not happen otherwise.
I would agree with most of what you just said.
Fix it anyway.
It is. I don't view them as tax abatement at all. It is a vehicle for possibly supporting development in such a way that you increase the taxes coming off the property later. And I have done a couple of these with Charles Robert, who often represents developers. The typical one would be...
Not as often as I'd like.
Most of the ones that the council sees are situations where water services, for example, is considering a developer's request for installation of a sewer line, for example. It may be that there's property beyond that development that is also developable, and Metro sees it as in its interest to pay for some portion of upsizing the infrastructure the developer would put in to serve his own project, such that that other property could eventually be developed and come online and customers for the department. So most of the participation agreements that you see are kind of in that category. Charles Robert doesn't work on that type. Sometimes we do them in, like say, in a downtown area for commercial development, where there may be a commitment on Metro's part to pay for infrastructure like road or sewer or water, traffic signal upgrades, new sidewalks. The one that I'm thinking of, the Nashville Yards, Metro agreed to do some particularly water and sewer upgrades, build some sidewalks and things like that. And it can turn into a lot of money. Capital View, we did a similar set of participation agreements and wound up with roadway improvements and also a park. So those things facilitate the development. It offsets some of their costs, and it can help convert say an underperforming piece of property into one that performs better, at least as far as the tax that gets generated. So I totally agree with you, Councilman, that this is not really in the same category as the other two, in the sense that those two programs result in taxes never hitting the books. So that money never comes to the general fund. And I know that has been the source of some discussion in front of the council, whether that's the right way to do it, or whether we bring that money in and then pay it out in ways where we actually see it. Because in these two programs, you never actually see the money. And it's maybe 30 years before you're really seeing that the money comes back to the general fund.
So in this case, a project happens, it increases the value, they pay higher taxes, and in some cases, we've then agreed to then reimburse them for the...
We wouldn't necessarily reimburse them. It could, and there are two ways to do this. Either the developer agrees to do the work and we agree to reimburse them for some of the costs, or sometimes we agree to do the work and they reimburse us for the costs. Now, when the developer's doing the work, one of the things that we need to be careful about is that their prices are reasonable. When we do a project, we typically have to bid it out or otherwise solicit competitively so that we know that the prices that we're getting are market rate. When the developer's doing it, you don't have that check, and so we typically will only do them, or we will limit our contribution based on pricing that we have on other jobs or from standard kind of ongoing Metro contracts where we have unit rate pricing. So it's sort of unnecessarily complicating this, but it's something that goes into these participation agreements as kind of a check on pricing when the developer's doing the work.
Gotcha. Questions?
This seems like there's two different types of participation agreements then. One where the city reimburses a developer cost, and one when the developer reimburses the city cost.
Yes, always for things like infrastructure and the like. We're not investing in the building itself or in the land for the project.
Is the developer reimbursement, it's just sort of that, is part of the understanding is, this developer is going to pay this higher taxes, and so that's where we'll see it, or is there actually like a direct check that's written?
Usually there's a direct payment.
Okay.
So just one recent one that the council approved was for some work on the fairgrounds. This is work that we're obligated to do under an agreement that goes back several years in connection with the soccer stadium. And it makes more sense for the developer to do the work. The developer's building a mixed-use building, and there's a plaza and some roadway work that needs to be done at the same time. If we wait until the developer is done, and then we go in there, we're probably going to break a bunch of stuff that they've already put in. So it's better if the work can be coordinated. So it makes sense for the developer to do this work. So we have a process in place for them to have it designed, and for us to approve the design, for them to do the work, and we'll reimburse reimburse them from money that's already been appropriated. That's another thing that is worth considering here, that the money for these doesn't just magically appear. It has to be the way Metro typically finances infrastructure is, by borrowing money, by issuing bonds. So the money for these projects has already been borrowed and appropriated to something, usually sort of a general category for infrastructure or something like that.
And the good news, the upside to Metro is you're getting the property taxes immediately, right? And so from that, and then you've got some bonded debt that's over a 30 or 40-year horizon, so the annual cost to Metro on that is pretty small, especially where Metro has struck the right deal in terms of the balance, in terms of what the developer's getting, and what you think both property taxes, sales tax, economic impact, et cetera, is a good way of, priming the pump on something that might not be done or might go a whole lot quicker with Metro's participation. Right.
Good explanation. So that's just, that's a little obtuse. But I will just say, just because sometimes when these things come up in front of council, there are people who go, here we go, free giveaways again. And it's just, I think it's important for us to understand what all these things that people perceive as free giveaways, that there frequently is just a timing issue that enables something good to happen that wouldn't happen otherwise or wouldn't happen as efficiently. And that sometimes future taxes are part of that. So any other questions?
I'm happy to answer questions, but I was going to make one observation about the other kind of TIF that is sort of a unicorn, different than the kind that Joe's been talking about. The Oracle is sort of in its own category where the developer agrees to pay for the costs of the infrastructure out of their own funds and be reimbursed over time through the tax increment. Now, obviously, that's a great deal for Metro because we're not borrowing any money. Joe's not borrowing any money. And the developer is at risk for it. If they don't actually produce, then they're on the hook. Like in the particular case of Oracle, their commitment is $175 million worth of infrastructure. They get paid back out of the TIF on that project over 20 years, 50% of the TIF over 20 years. If they don't ever accumulate that much in TIF, then that's just on them. Now, not many developers can do this because it requires that you have the money to pay for it up front. But that's another vehicle that's out there, and of course, the council really like that one.
Well, and I'm going to jump in here because while it is a unicorn, because it is a very unique one, it ran through the IDB. It's still in IDB too.
Right.
Came through TIF. Okay, good. Came through IDB. Great. Thank you for that clarification. Any other questions on participation agreements? Okay, Madam Trustee, so you're the one who either gets or doesn't get all these property taxes. And so I wanted to invite you to speak. And then when I was mentioning that I was going to have Madam Trustee here, someone said, oh yeah, and have her talk about utilities because they're this whole other funny animal that they ought to be paying taxes, but they don't or something.
Right,
so,
I'm glad you said that and asking the question. I'm actually glad to be here, honestly, because I think to Kelly's point, sometimes there is a disconnectedness. So I think one example would be with the pilots. Sometimes people from MDHA, once those pilots expire, they asked us more information about the pilots, but we do not handle that, and they're actually quite shocked when they get the bill. That's why when you were working on this, I was like, I really want to be here and kind of just talk more about it. As it relates to utilities, I don't know, are you talking about water or NES?
I think someone was just saying, I was referring to the fact that as a city, by state law, the property assessor, who is not here, has a job to say this property is worth this much, and there are several specific categories of assessment. Once we assess the property, then once we appraise the property, then we assess it at 25% if it's residential, 40% if it's commercial, something very low if it's agricultural, and then in general, Metro properties have not paid property taxes, but then sometimes we have a pilot for Metro-owned properties, which is a totally different animal. But again, it's a payment in lieu of what the official taxes would be if the assessor treated them like they do regular property.
Right.
And so in raising that, someone said, oh, ask her about utilities.
Okay, so we don't handle those because they're revenue bonds. It doesn't come through the trustee's office at all. So if you're talking about Nashville Electric Service, water, we don't deal with that at all.
Gotcha. So that, in essence, their property is not paying property taxes to the
to the
trustee.
Anything
that, Margaret?
So to the finance department. The water department has two separate pilots that they make. One of them is the $4 million annual pilot that goes to support revenue bonds. And then there is the $10 million pilot that was enacted 3 years ago, something like that. And that comes straight to Metro as well. So, and I believe it gets paid straight to Treasury or finance.
And those are the only ones we have, to your knowledge.
I want to say yes, but don't hold me to it. I might be missing one.
Okay.
But the utility pilots are structured under state law. Those are not
Okay.
negotiated necessarily pilots. I mean, they are
Gotcha.
slightly negotiated, but pursuant to state law.
Right. So anyway, just so you know, there are other pilots out there. People may ask us about that as a group, but technically that's outside of our jurisdiction and purview. So
Convention Center now has one too.
Correct.
Different from the utilities, and that is kind of more negotiated one.
It is negotiated.
but it goes directly into the general fund, but not, it goes to finance, not to the
trustee's office.
Okay.
So it would be nice to have all this information in one place. I think it is a great point that she made up. But yeah, so we don't deal with that.
Okay. Anything else you want this group to hear tonight? I mean, we are hoping you will attend or send a
Yeah, no, I will
designee on these.
continue to attend because it deals with property, and that is what we do. I think it's interesting. I think just more ways to make it connect where we can connect. If we see an opportunity, I think that's what I'm bringing. Other than that, just listening, and if there's some things that work or don't work, and I think I brought that forward. When pilots expire, those persons that have those pilots, they're shocked when they get a bill. And then a lot of times they call us about it to explain it. But once again, that's not something that our office deals with, so there can be more synergy with that. I think it's an opportunity to do that.
Great.
And so,
Good point there. I'm going to write that down right now. So, okay. So those are the four specific items I wanted this group to hear about tonight. If anyone is aware of other things that I didn't add to the list, let me know afterwards, and I will add them for next time. I think what I would like to do at the next meeting is to talk more quantitatively, sort of about return on investment, sort of, and I will figure out who's going to provide us with that information. But there's a lot of data that we can look at, and just because part of what we want to do is just get our arms around how much of this is going on, how much do we want to have go on, and what's really effective. So as I mentioned earlier, I think 2 weeks from now, many of us may be in the middle of spring break. I don't know. So I would suggest that our next meeting be April 1, or the first Wednesday in April. You should have gotten an invite for that. And you will also have a tentative invite for the the third Wednesday in April. So at least if you can keep your calendar open for that one, then we'll decide at the first meeting if we need to speed things up or whatever.
Great.
Any other questions, thoughts?
Any other, did Bridgestone, when they moved downtown, were they get some sort of tax incentive? Am I remembering that correctly? Was that?
They got a pilot.
Was it an MDHA pilot? No, it wasn't, was it? It was IDB. It was IDB. There's a few different, IDB is somewhat active in this area, and there's no reason why they're up until, the biggest, I assume biggest, or at least one of the more recent tax incentive type. So I think maybe I'd love to, I think that's an interesting, in terms of the toolbox, that's one that's sitting there. I go a lot from MDHA and Angie sort of representing the Health and Ed Board's pilot and participation agreements.
yes, Councilmember Allen, we do collect the low-income tax credits, but once again, it comes from the assessor's office. She gives us that information, sends it up, so we do keep it with that. So,
Okay.
that is one thing, but
That comes
Things are
to
kind of-
both of y'all. Okay, good to know. Okay, well, I will try to loop those groups in. I mean, the HEB was meeting here earlier, and we had some back and forth about they'd love to know what we're coming up with as well. So I appreciate that input on that as well. So I would say unless plan on being here the first meeting in April, and we will look at a lot of numbers at that point, and then I think from there move on to what are other cities doing. So if people know of good things that other cities are doing, and even if it's just they're doing the exact same thing we're doing but with a different twist or whatever, or are there other cities that actually have policies? Because that's part of what we're looking at. Any other great thoughts or questions or whatever? All right, thank y'all so much for being here.
Thank you.
Watch out for the storm. And we'll be
If anybody needs a parking pass,
and if you need parking passes, they're right there. Thank you, Margaret. Thank you to our speakers. I appreciate it. Oh, no, it's okay. You can watch the beginning alone.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.